This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome back to a new YouTube video. Hope you guys are all doing well. It's been a while since I've uploaded a video, especially it's been a while since I've sat down in the office and just gave you guys a chat. So I'm leaving in a couple days here on a pretty massive road trip. I'm going to be gone for a little under 2 weeks. I'm going to be exploring all of the Oregon coast and a lot of Washington State where I grew up. I always try to carve out some time every year to do a road trip like this, and this is really the only week that I have available this summer. It's been really busy. Which I'm very thankful for, but this is what I'm going to be spending the next week doing, living on the road, camping. I'm going to be shooting a lot. I have a lot of really fun videos planned for the channel from this road trip, but I wanted to start things off by just explaining to you guys a question that I get asked often, which is what cameras I've been using lately. And, you know, as much camera talk as I've done in the past, I haven't really done it a lot lately, and I honestly really do enjoy talking about what cameras I've been using and what I've been up to, what I've been using those cameras for. So this video is for all of you who are interested in that. Now, for the most part, the cameras that I really actually use, both for work and for fun, haven't changed too much over the years. You guys have obviously seen a lot of the videos on this channel where I do pick up a camera for a couple months and just test it, review it, see if I like it. And that does happen a lot. It's happened with a Leica Q2. It's happened with the Fuji GFX100S, both of which I don't have anymore. They were fun to use, but just didn't really feel like, you know, the camera that I wanted to bring along with me on a consistent basis is all. This video is really just about the cameras that have kind of stuck with me over the years and the ones that I really kind of gravitate towards on a regular basis. Now, first and foremost, we have the Fuji GFX100S, which you guys have seen. I've done quite a few videos on this YouTube channel, and I shoot a large chunk of my photography on this camera. And if you want to watch a more in-depth video on me explaining why I love that camera and the reasons behind me getting it, I'll leave a link down to a separate video below. But in short, this camera just kind of checks off all the boxes for me. I really think it allows me to get the kind of images that I want. And at the end of the day, that's really all you can ask for from a camera. I really do love the medium format sensor. I love the lens selection that Fuji has, and the colors are extremely easy to edit in Lightroom when I import the photos. Now, I don't shoot everything on this camera. I do shoot a lot of my personal work and portraits on this camera because I really do think the larger sensor and the added depth that you get with a bigger medium format sensor really is worth it, in my opinion. And I've used quite a few Fuji medium format cameras over the years, mainly the GFX100, the original one. And I've also used the GFX50R for a very short period of time. And this camera by far is the best that I've used. It's really fast. You can shoot up to 5 frames a second, which is all you could ever need with these massive file sizes, and it just works really well. I love it, and I've been able to take a lot of my favorite photos with this camera. Now, secondly, and this is a camera that I don't really talk about a lot on this channel, but I do use it constantly, and that is the Canon R5, which I'm actually filming on right now. And I can't say enough good things about this camera. It really is kind of the, I would say, bread and butter workhorse behind my photography business, as well as this YouTube channel. I film a lot of the videos here on the YouTube channel with the Canon R5, and I do shoot a lot of commercial and advertising work with the R5 as well. Every sort of high-paced job that I'm shooting. I just shot a job last week for this coffee company up in Seattle, and this camera was really kind of the workhorse behind that entire shoot. It's really fast. I don't ever worry about it messing up, especially when it comes to focusing. This has some of the best autofocus that I've ever seen for a camera. It's just so accurate and really easy to use. Again, Canon is just kind of tried and true. It's been battle tested, and these cameras are really incredible. I mainly use the Canon 24-70 for the video side of things, and on the still side, I'll usually rent something like a 70-200 or a 50mm prime if I need that. But for the most part, I think I have all my bases covered with the 24-70. I also do use the battery grip with this camera. I do love bigger cameras. I have pretty large hands, and it's really nice to be able to shoot vertical as well as horizontal. And overall, this camera just is great. I don't really have a lot of bad things to say about it. I think a lot of the firmware updates fixed a lot of the issues that I had previously, especially with overheating. I don't shoot very large chunks of video. You know, it's usually like 30 seconds here, a couple minutes there. These talking sections are probably the longest that I'm recording on this camera, and I haven't had any problems with it overheating personally, but you know, that's just my personal experience with the camera. But yeah, the R5 is great, and I do use it very, very often. I do get a lot of questions if I still even have this camera, and the answer is yes, I use it all the time, especially in tandem with the GFX. The R5 solves a lot of the issues that the GFX has, mainly centered around how fast I can shoot and how great the autofocus is. If I'm shooting any sort of moving subject or anything fast-paced, the R5 is the obvious choice for that. 45 megapixels is more than enough. The files are beautiful, pretty easy to edit, and I've always been a fan of Canon and what they do. I think the pairing of these two cameras is great. I often get asked the question of if it's hard to kind of mimic the style and the color between these two cameras, and I haven't had a lot of trouble with that whatsoever. Put in a lot of work trying to figure out how to, you know, really emulate the same colors with Fuji that I have with Canon. And the great thing is they're both pretty easy to edit nowadays. It's a lot of information to work with. The raw files are nice, and they have a lot of detail to work with, especially when you import them into Lightroom. You can really tweak the colors however you'd like. Besides those two cameras, I do have two main film cameras that I've kind of stuck with since day one. Now, the obvious first camera is going to be the Mamiya 7 II, which is obviously one of my favorite cameras. I've talked about this camera in multiple different videos. Is just the most fun I've had shooting with really any camera to date. Behind me, I have about 10 binders or so full of negatives, and a lot of those negatives are shot on this camera. If I had to guess, I've probably shot over 500 rolls on this camera, and I've had it fixed several times. It's really been with me all around the world. It's been to Japan with me, New Zealand, Australia, across Europe. This camera's been there with me for a lot of my travels, and I think when it comes to kind of a compact landscape camera, travel camera, that for me just fits really nicely into my camera bag. I have several different lenses for it. I've never been disappointed with the images I've been able to get out of this camera. The scans always come out beautiful, and I love the detail that you get with a 6x7 negative versus anything else. I've tried shooting 645, mainly on the Fuji GA645, and while the images are beautiful, I love the depth and the, you know, true to life feel that you get from the 6x7 scans that you get out of the Mamiya 7. It's just a beautiful camera to use. I love it. I've shot on it so much that it's just such an effortless, easy extension for me. You know, I pull it up to my eye, I take a photo, and it just feels natural. I'm so used to it. I know how to use this camera in and out, and it's just a blast to use. So the Mamiya 7 II pretty much never leaves my side. And on this trip up to Washington, I'm going to be shooting quite a bit of film with this guy, which I'm very excited to share with you guys. Now, the fourth and final camera that I use on a pretty regular basis, I would say this camera almost more than any, is my trusty Contax T3. And I've made several videos about this camera actually pretty recently, and this camera for me is just such a fun camera to use more than anything. I'm obviously not shooting really any sort of work on this camera, but I bring it everywhere, on every trip, on every outing, on every job, on every night out with friends. I bring it everywhere with me, and the photos I've been able to get with this camera are very intimate. They're very close to my heart because they're really special moments that when I pull out a really small camera like this versus a massive medium format camera and I open it up, it's just not as intrusive on the moment. It's really easy to take a photo really quickly, put it away, and then you can just kind of continue living your life. And that's why I've always been a big advocate of point and shoot cameras. I think they really allow you to get into these really cool moments that you wouldn't be able to otherwise with bigger cameras. And I think, you know, with Contax, they have this reputation for being just super expensive cameras that are overpriced and overhyped. These cameras are not overhyped. They're definitely expensive, and they're quite the investment. I will be the first to admit that. I've had several Contax cameras, point and shoots, T2s, T3s, 645s. None of them are cheap. These things are expensive, but I think the image quality that you're able to get from this amazing Carl Zeiss lens on such a small form factor, it's really hard to beat. And I shoot this camera pretty often. I post over on my personal Instagram. If you guys want to check that out at all, I'll leave a link to that in the description. But I love this camera. The T3 is just a great pairing to me with the Mamiya 7 II. Obviously, these cameras together are extremely expensive, but I've worked really hard to be able to afford these. So I really think that these cameras are what fit my work the best. And I've tried a plethora of other different cameras, different systems, and these two really kind of tick all the boxes for me. I think whatever photo I can't get with the Mamiya 7 II, the Contax T3 being such a sharp and easy to use point and shoot is always right behind me when I need it. So with all that being said, I'm super excited to get out on this road trip. I've been needing to hit the road for a while. You guys have probably noticed I've been doing a lot of road trips lately, and it's really just kind of been able to allow me to clear my head and just get outside and be excited about photography. And I'm in a really great spot right now. I'm just really having a lot of fun, shooting a lot of photos, and it's just been a blast. I'm excited to bring you guys along with me on this road trip. I think there's going to be a lot of really cool stuff that I can share and show you. But other than that, that's all I got for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions about any of these cameras down below. We'd be happy to answer them for you. And before we wrap up this video, I did want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, which is Squarespace, for sponsoring today's episode. Squarespace has been a longtime sponsor of this YouTube channel and is one of my favorite brands to work with. They've always just kind of understood the creative process and what it takes to not only make a beautiful website, but to empower tons of different artists and really allow us to grow as artists and filmmakers and photographers. I've used Squarespace as a website provider for many, many years now, and it's just such an easy, simple to use process. I don't have to think too much about the design or the layout choices. It's all kind of just built into it, and I can very easily change very complex things with just a couple different clicks. I love all the different options for templates and text fonts and all the different ways to display your work in terms of galleries and be able to offer products such as prints and digital goods. Squarespace is not only a great website builder, but I think they also just really do a great job of empowering other artists, and that is why I love supporting them on this YouTube channel. If you guys are interested in making a website for yourself, there'll be a link down in the description. You can get 10% off your first website or domain purchase. Thank you so much to Squarespace, as always, for sponsoring this video, and we'll see you guys next week from the road.